Have you ever had the strange sense that your thoughts were rippling outward into the world, subtly shaping the events around you? Maybe it was the phone call that came just as you thought of someone, or a chance encounter that altered your course forever. For many, these moments are brushed off as coincidences. But to Terence McKenna, they were whispers from a deeper structure of reality, one where consciousness isn't just a passive observer, but an active participant. For those of us in midlife or beyond, there's a quiet ache that builds, a sense that too many events happened to us, that we were caught in jobs, marriages, and obligations without fully realizing we were co-authoring every page. But McKenna challenges this resignation. He believed that reality bends, not in grand magical gestures, but in subtle, living synchronies that align when we awaken to our inner frequency. We've been conditioned to believe that life unfolds linearly, mechanically. Go to school, get the job, raise the kids, wait for retirement. But what if you were never meant to merely follow that path? What if your awareness, the way you feel, focus, and intend, actually magnetizes the people and situations that show up in your life? McKenna called this a kind of cosmic resonance. When we shift our inner state, we tune ourselves to a new pattern. And just like a radio dial, once you're on that frequency, the music changes, not just inside you, but all around you. This isn't about wishful thinking or manifesting luxury. It's about subtle, radical responsibility, realizing that your thoughts, emotions, and presence are shaping fields of probability. And most people never notice because they've been taught that they are powerless. But pause here. Really consider it. How different would your life look if 20 years ago you had believed that your intention mattered? How many connections could have been deeper? How many choices more aligned? How many crossroads less painful? McKenna didn't promise ease. He offered mystery. He invited us to participate consciously in the unfolding of reality, to see that the line between inner world and outer event is not as firm as we once believed. If this reflection has already touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and share in the comments. What part spoke to you the most? Now let's continue. One of the most disorienting truths we encounter in midlife is that the world seems to keep mirroring us, not who we pretend to be, but who we really are. The conversations that echo our fears, the relationships that replay our oldest wounds, the opportunities that keep slipping through our fingers just as we begin to hope. Terence McKenna believed that what we call reality is not fixed or objective. It is, in his words, a cultural operating system, one that can be reprogrammed, disrupted, even transcended. But only if we're willing to confront the fact that our perception is not a lens we look through, but a force we project outward. If you're attracting disappointment, conflict, or emotional distance, McKenna would ask, what internal frequency are you broadcasting? Not in a judgmental sense, but in the same way a radio cannot receive jazz if it's tuned to static. Life isn't punishing you, it's responding to the depth and honesty of your inner state. It's not easy to admit, especially after decades of effort and endurance, that some of our deepest patterns have been self-perpetuated. But this is where McKenna's philosophy becomes liberating. He wasn't offering blame, he was offering agency. A chance to start witnessing your thoughts as creative acts, a chance to shift attention from survival to synchronicity. The challenge is that most people stop listening. They numb the intuition that whispers, "This isn't it." They settle for familiar pain, because unfamiliar joy feels risky. But attraction, as McKenna saw it, is not about force. It's about alignment. And alignment only happens when you stop betraying your own knowing. This is especially vital for those of us who've lived long enough to accumulate regrets, because what remains isn't just memory, it's momentum. The patterns that haven't been questioned keep creating echoes, bringing us back to the same kinds of relationships, the same types of losses. If you want to attract different people, different events, you have to risk seeing differently. You must learn to dwell in uncertainty with curiosity instead of fear. You must reclaim your vision, not just for what's possible out there, but for what's alive in here. And the world will respond. It always has. By the time we reach midlife, We've often grown weary of concepts like positive thinking or manifestation. After all, life has shown us that effort doesn't always equal reward, and that some dreams, no matter how dearly held, simply don't materialize. But Terence McKenna wasn't interested in optimism or self-help slogans. He spoke of intention as something far more mysterious, not a mental wish, but a vibrational signal that we transmit into the field of possibility. For McKenna, the universe wasn't dead matter. It was alive, aware, and listening. And our intention, when it's embodied and emotionally coherent, acts like a tuning fork. It organizes chaos. It draws to us not just events, but patterns, fractals of meaning that cluster around a particular state of being. But here's the hard truth. Most people never fully inhabit their intentions. They think they want love, but deep down, they fear closeness. They say they want freedom, but unconsciously cling to the familiar. They wish for success, but carry silent beliefs that they don't deserve it. And so the signal becomes distorted. The message is unclear. The field responds with confusion. To attract the people and events we truly desire, we must first become radically honest about what we're broadcasting. What do your behaviors, your self-talk, your emotional tone, all those invisible choices actually say to the universe? Because intention isn't a sentence in your head. It's a frequency your whole being emits. McKenna encouraged us to see ourselves not as isolated individuals, but as nodes in a vast web of intelligence. When your intention is pure, meaning aligned in thought, feeling, and action, it resonates. And the world bends ever so slightly toward your path. You may not notice it right away, but suddenly the right person appears. The phone rings. A door opens that wasn't even visible before. This doesn't mean control, it means participation. It means surrendering the need to force outcomes while deepening the clarity of your signal. And it means trusting that when your inner life shifts, the outer world must in time reflect it. That's not mysticism, that's coherence, and you felt it before, even if you couldn't name it. By the time we've lived a few decades, we've all had those moments that feel too meaningful to be random. You think of a childhood friend and receive a letter from them the next day. You decide to take a different route home, only to run into someone who changes your life. These are more than coincidences. Terence McKenna would call them synchronicities, events that emerge from the subtle fabric of consciousness, revealing that life is not a series of accidents, but a kind of conversation. The older we get, the more we start to suspect that something beneath the surface is trying to guide us, not through loud signs, but through delicate alignments. And McKenna believed that synchronicity is the universe's way of answering when we begin to live in resonance with our own truth. But there's a catch. Synchronicity only becomes visible when we are present. Most people miss these signs because they're trapped in a mental loop, replaying old wounds, anticipating future problems, numbed by repetition. To attract new possibilities, we have to develop the capacity to notice, because what you perceive determines what is possible for you. When you start acting with clear intention, not ambition, but alignment, the field shifts. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're participating in it. And suddenly, synchronicities appear as markers on the trail telling you you're getting warmer. Keep going. It's tempting, especially after years of pain, to become cynical, to believe that life is indifferent, that nothing matters beyond the material. But McKenna's worldview urges us to stay awake to mystery, not in the abstract, but in the deeply personal way it shows up through patterns, timing, and intuitive nudges. Synchronicity isn't about controlling what happens. It's about recognizing that when your inner and outer worlds begin to reflect each other, something sacred is at play. And when you honor that, when you slow down, listen, respond with integrity, you open the doorway to encounters that feel destined, events that feel tailored to your evolution. Maybe the question isn't why they happen, but whether you're ready to receive them. There's a moment in every life when the old sources of meaning start to fade. Careers plateau, children grow up, roles we once clung to no longer define us. And for many, this creates a hollow ache, the sense that something essential has been lost. But Terence McKenna offered a radical reframing. Meaning is not something we discover out in the world. It's something we generate through the quality of our awareness and the depth of our participation. In simpler terms, meaning is magnetic. It arises not from chasing answers, but from living with presence, curiosity, and integrity. And when you live that way, you begin to attract experiences that match your frequency, people who speak your emotional language, opportunities that resonate with your values, and events that feel designed not for your ego, but for your evolution. Think of a time when you were fully alive, not just happy but aligned. Chances are things flowed more easily. Doors opened. Conversations felt charged. Time bent in strange ways. That wasn't magic, that was coherence. That was your life responding to your inner clarity. But when we dull ourselves, staying in dead relationships, ignoring our creative impulses, pretending to be someone we're not, we begin to radiate confusion, and the world reflects it back. No amount of effort can override a misaligned soul. McKenna would say, "The universe isn't punishing you, it's just deeply honest. This is why meaning can never be forced. You don't attract rich, beautiful moments by wanting them. You attract them by becoming someone who can hold them, someone who listens, someone who risks, someone who refuses to abandon what they know in their bones." This takes time, especially for those of us who've spent years surviving instead of thriving. But the invitation is always there. Live with depth, speak with truth, make space for mystery, and meaning will emerge, not as a reward, but as a natural byproduct of your alignment. You don't find your path, you create it moment by moment through the energy you embody. And what you attract is not determined by your desire, but by your devotion. For much of adult life, we're taught to take control, to plan, to predict, to manage outcomes. We become experts at minimizing risk and maximizing stability. And yet, somewhere along the way, we start to feel numb. Life loses its shimmer. The unexpected becomes the enemy. But Terence McKenna flipped this logic on its head. He believed that the more tightly we grip the reins, the more we block the arrival of what we truly desire. Why? Because control is rooted in fear, the fear that life won't provide unless we force it to. But attraction doesn't happen in fear. It happens in surrender, in openness. In the quiet confidence that something meaningful can come without being chased. As we get older, this becomes both harder and more essential. After decades of effort, building careers, families, identities, we've learned to equate control with survival. Letting go feels like failure. But McKenna invites us to trust a different intelligence. Not chaos, but a higher order that we can't fully see, one that reveals itself through timing, through resonance, through unlikely paths. So what does this look like in practice? It means softening your agenda. It means listening when something feels off, even if it looks good on paper. It means saying no to opportunities that don't feel alive, even if they seem practical. And it means having the courage to pause, to create space, so that something better can enter. Letting go is not about becoming passive, it's about becoming receptive. It's shifting from, how do I make this happen, to, what is already trying to happen through me? And when we live that way, with curiosity instead of control, the people and events we need tend to arrive, not always quickly, not always comfortably, but precisely and unmistakably. Some of the most important encounters in your life didn't come because you hunted them down. They came when you stopped gripping, stopped pushing, and allowed life to breathe. That is the paradox McKenna points to. True power emerges when we stop trying to dominate the unknown and start dancing with it. By midlife, many people feel like they're shouting into the void, yearning to be seen, heard, chosen. They wonder why love has become elusive, why friendships have grown shallow, why the same kind of disappointment keeps showing up in new disguises. But Terence McKenna, always attuned to the invisible patterns beneath the surface, might offer this insight. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. In McKenna's framework, the self isn't a fixed identity. It's an energetic field, constantly pulsing with the emotions, beliefs, and stories we carry. Your presence, then, is not neutral. It broadcasts a vibration, and that vibration becomes an invitation. Not a verbal invitation, but a magnetic one. So if you find yourself attracting emotionally unavailable people, or lifeless jobs, or cycles of betrayal and regret, the hard question is, what part of you is still resonating with that reality? This isn't about blame, it's about recognition. If your inner world is filled with old pain, self-doubt, or bitterness, that's the frequency you're broadcasting, even if your words say otherwise. And people who carry that same tone, whether they intend harm or not, will feel drawn to it like moths to a familiar flame. This is why deep internal work isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Until you heal the unresolved layers of your story, they continue to speak louder than your conscious desires. Until you process your grief, you radiate scarcity. Until you forgive yourself, you attract judgment. Until you reclaim your worth, you invite conditional love. But here's the beauty of McKenna's vision. When you shift your vibration, truly from the inside out, the outer world cannot help but adjust. New people enter, old patterns dissolve, conversations deepen. It's not magic. It's coherence again, the physics of the psyche aligning with the rhythm of the real. So ask yourself, what is my life saying to the world? Not with my words, but with my being. What is my presence inviting? Because until your vibration changes, your story will stay the same, no matter how hard you try to rewrite it. But when it shifts, everything else follows. We often spend years, even decades, believing we're waiting for clarity, for love, for the right time, the right sign, the right version of ourselves. But Terence McKenna would tell us this: you're not waiting for life. Life is waiting for you. This is not a metaphor, it's a call. A reminder that the field of potential is always alive, always listening, but it requires your participation, your courage, your yes. By the time we reach our 50s, 60s or beyond, we know that time is no longer something to waste. We've already endured enough heartache. We've lost people we thought we'd never lose. We've survived versions of ourselves we no longer recognize. And still, there's something in us, a whisper, a pulse, that knows there's more, that it isn't over. McKenna believed that the universe responds most powerfully to authentic engagement. When you show up, not perfectly, but honestly, doors open. When you speak your truth, not aggressively but clearly, people listen. And when you align your actions with your essence, even quietly, you attract what is meant for your growth. But this can't happen while you're hiding, or apologizing, or shrinking for the comfort of others. At some point, you must stop negotiating with your potential. You must stop rehearsing your story of delay. Because the people and events you long for, the ones that would meet your heart with presence and truth, cannot find you while you're pretending to be someone else. This is the final threshold, not transformation through force, but through permission. To feel what you feel, to want what you want, to release what no longer serves, not with resentment, but with reverence. Because the life that's meant for you won't come through effort alone, it comes through honesty. So if you've been waiting for healing, for peace, for the right person or path, pause and ask, what if they've been waiting for me to arrive? Fully, unmasked, whole. In the end, attraction is not a secret. It's not a formula. It's a return to presence, to clarity, to the quiet knowing that you are the event you've been waiting for. And from that place, everything begins.